What a great day, you guys. So is Dragonlance on its way to 5th edition? Well, the new Unearthed Arcana seems to say so. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
Ooh.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next D&D adventure. I am super excited for today's topic. I was a big fan of the Dragonlance books. I don't know if either of you have read them.
Unfortunately, no.
I've read a little bit of them.
It's a pretty great setting, and I absolutely fell in love with it reading through some of the books. It's a very prominent right alongside the Dark Sun setting. So for those people that are out there like me, we're really excited for it.
I'm just amazed we're getting any Dragonlance stuff after the lawsuit.
There's a lawsuit?
There was a lawsuit?
Last year, yeah, it was huge.
Oh, not huge enough for me to notice.
I remember hearing something about it. I don't know what it was, though.
Basically, they hired like the old authors to make new books. Wizards wouldn't approve the draft, even though their contract obligated them to. So the authors took them to court about it.
Oh, did the authors win?
They sold it out of court.
Reading Rainbow.
Love reading Rainbow. All right. So I want to kind of, before we get into the details of the Unearthed Arcana, I want to kind of talk a little bit about the Dragonlance setting.
Yes.
It started, it was a very prominent setting that came out of early D&D. It's the world of Krynn in the Krynn space solar system. What's really cool is that sets it really apart for me is the fact that the unique the Magic Society is based around, or some of them are based around like the 3 moons that the world has, and actually we see that in the subclass that we're going to be talking about today.
Kind of a neat one, actually.
Yeah, and Dragonlance was created by Laura and Tracy Hickman and expanded by Tracy Hickman and Margaret, I think it's Weiss, if I'm wrong, sorry, under the direction of TSR Inc., which is really cool, which led from it being a set of adventures into an entire campaign setting, which I think was done really, really well. And there was some really unique things that came out of the you all right? Careful, don't do that. It'll shut off on you. All that's holding that together is that little plug. Plug goes, no battery. And so there's a lot of good short stories that were contributed and that really brought the world of Krynn to life. It is kind of like our world in the fact that it's mostly water, but it's mostly got like 3 major continents and a couple smaller ones. I think if I recall right, the main continent where most of the stories take place was Ansalon. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's how I've always said it, which is really cool. But it's just like any other high fantasy setting. You got dwarves, gnomes, elves, minotaurs, all those sorts of things. But one that really set them apart was the Kendar. And honestly, this is something I was reading. Some people don't like the Kendar.
I thought it was Kender. I thought it was like a play on the word kinder as in child.
Yeah.
Well, the
Kendar were basically the Dragonlance's version of the halflings. So
they wanted to really separate themselves. So that's actually one of the features we're going to talk about today is the Kendar. And it started out as Kinder, Kinder, but they ended up changing it because the goal was to be Kinder. So they ended up changing it to Kender. It's a whole thing. But they basically were like kleptomaniacs. Yep. And I guess some people didn't like that, especially in the 5th edition, I could see, because it's no longer they're kleptomaniacs. It's stuff just disappears around them because they're curious.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Well, that's always how it worked, too. The problem, though, was the reason where the hate came from was because they had a lack of ownership, if you will.
Yep.
And they were naturally curious. Oh, what's this thing? They put it in their pockets. And not this way, all players know how to role play that, if you will. So they would also steal from the party.
Yep.
I'll take a look at it later. Where's my inhaler?
And so I think that they did this really well. So let's... we're going to talk about some of the unique details about it. The Kendar are short and statured and all that jazz, which I think is fun. Ian already mentioned that they're kind of like halflings, except they were like kleptos. So here they are native to the Krynn world, which is really cool. They are very scrawny. They got elven ears, but they're not as like plunky as hobbits are typically portrayed. Yep. So I think that or halflings, I guess, too. So that's a really good change in my opinion. But what's really cool is some of the features that they got. Obviously, they're a humanoid. They're small. They move 30 feet, but they have brave, just like the gnome, I believe. Or is that halfling?
I feel like it's halfling.
Okay, it might be halfling. But what's really cool
Brave
is they get the Kender Ace. So starting at 3rd level, you possess a magical ability to pull an item out of a bag or another container as a bonus action.
What's this do?
You basically reach into one of these objects and just grab something. And there's a Kender Aces die table. That's 1d6 that gives you a multitude of random things. Goes anywhere from a simple weapon of your choice to 5d6 gold pieces to a random trinket from the player's handbook, which is a player's handbook trinket table, a grappling hook, a crowbar. Basically, you can expand this. The DM can expand this as much as they want, but pretty much anything not more than 10 gold pieces, which is really cool. The catch, though, is, and I know what you guys are thinking, I can pull out 5d6 gold pieces out of my pocket regularly.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Well, everything glimmers softly and disappears after an hour.
Oh.
So,
can
our thief anyone? Buy stuff or buy stuff with it and then go sell it somewhere else and the money just poof disappears.
Oh.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I definitely think that's them trying to, of course, compensate for their old habits.
Yes.
But I'm not sure how well this is going to necessarily work out.
Well, they actually go into a little farther than that with the some of the other features, but a lot of good chat here. Are you hopeful? Maybe are you guys watching this? I can't keep up with it. It's right here.
I'm watching stuff.
All right, so and I think that's really cool. Right before we go on any farther with the Kender, what do you guys think about this Kender Aces feature?
Now that I know it disappears in 1 hour, it sounds a lot more fun, and you can take advantage of it, like what you just said. It's no different than the Eldritch Knight who can make his weapon come back.
Yes, we had that happen in one of our games.
Yeah.
Rowan was an Eldritch Knight with the bonded blade and sold the bonded blade and then just conjured it back to herself.
Way to break the game.
I know there's been a few times where we encountered some guards who are clearly looking for bribes to get let into the city. I'm like, here you go. Here's a platinum piece, which I created with prestidigitation.
It's easy to trick them too. So there is one thing. They do get another feature. So now that we've talked about the Kender Aces, they get a feature that screams, I'm playing a Kender Bard. They get Taunt. They have a supernatural ability to home in on a creature's emotional raw nerves and basically craft a taunt that flusters the target. As a bonus action, you can unleash a barrage of insults to a creature within 60 feet of you that can hear and understand you. The target must succeed a wisdom save or have disadvantage on the next attack roll. You can use this number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. I love this.
Part of me also thinks like, you need a feature for that.
I really do enjoy this. Do you think it's? I don't know. I really think this is screaming fun bard mechanics because not only is it a bonus action, it's not a spell, it's an ability.
Yep.
Which is interesting, which means it probably can't be counterspelled or anything like that. And it how often does it come back? I think it's when you finish a long rest. So even at level 1, when you pick this race, you can really cause trouble for any enemies attacking your allies, which I think is really, really cool.
We're looking at Taunt, right?
Yeah, the Taunt feature. So overall, what do you guys think about that? That's all he's got to do is gotta cackle. The fact that it's not magic, I think it makes it, and it's a bonus action, makes it superior to Vicious Mockery.
Yep.
And you gonna add to that?
No, it's just the way I'm seeing this is normally when you hear of an ability that's like taunt, it's saying, "Oh, come and get me," and you're taunting the enemy to come to you. Mm-hmm. In this case, it's more like an annoying child sitting off in the corner calling you a dickhead or something like that. You're like, motherfucker, and he just keeps distracting you.
I'm thinking of the guy from Happy Gilmore. You suck, you jackass. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this.
Did you become a thief because you're an orphan and no one loves you? Shut up!
So that's pretty much the Kender. I really like it. I think it's fun. If you want to follow along with us as we make our way through the Unearthed Arcana content, please head on over to critacademy.com and check out the blog for this episode. There is a link directly to the PDF for the Unearthed Arcana, or you can go Google it. But we appreciate the traffic, and you can get our other notes.
I am now picturing the Taunt as a child who has zero filter. This is what I've undermined.
Now, as we talk about the Lunar Magic Sorcerer subclass, I do want to preface this with, this is broken right now. It is so powerful in comparison to the other ones. I hope that that's an accident and not a sliding.
On the flip side, have you seen what the stuff from Tasha's does?
No, I mean, like in raw like utility and damage, this still outshines all that stuff, and that's a problem.
I mean, if you look at what the Clockwork Sorcerer does and the other one does in Tasha's, though, they're pretty ridiculous too compared to the other sorcerers.
Well, I'm hoping that they bring it down a little bit. The other concern I have with this is that we're getting more to the overpoweredness that's in Strixhaven, which I don't like. Strixhaven introduced backgrounds with powers and features and stuff that I don't like because I hate power creep, because it starts to make the early stuff obsolete.
Unfortunately, we've been seeing power creep in every edition, really.
Well, but this one they managed to put it off pretty long.
Yeah.
So I am going to share my own thoughts via their survey when I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I want them to know that this, in my opinion, this isn't okay. But that doesn't change the fact that this is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So the Lunar Magic is based, I think it says here, on many worlds, the moon is revered celestial body with magical properties. On Krynn, the gods of magic are associated with the world's 3 moons. Bless you. The world's 3 moons. On the world of Toro, the god Selûne uses the light of the moon to battle darkness. On Eberron, you scholars of the Draconic prophecy decipher ancient secrets of the waxing and waning of the world's 12 moons. So when you pick up this lineage, you kind of get a little bit of versatility because of that, and I think it's really interesting. So at first level, when you pick this, you get to choose a manifestation of your power, which is pretty cool, and it starts with the Moonfire. Brandon, do you want to tell us about the Moonfire power?
Moonfire, as a first level Lunar Magic feature. You can call down the radiant light of the moon on command. You learn the Sacred Flame spell, which doesn't count against the number of sorcerer cantrips you know. Well, that's nice. When you cast a spell, you can target 1 creature as normal, or target 2 creatures within range that are within 5 feet of each other.
And that is my first problem right there. You knew right where I was going. You took a cantrip and on a sorcerer who already has a meta magic to do this, and let him do it for free. Twin a spell, basically, so long as they're within range of 5 feet of each other. I like the idea of giving them Sacred Flame. I don't like the idea that it does it to 2 creatures. I would say in Wizards of the Coast, Chris, I know you're listening, maybe that if the first creature that's targeted succeeds the save, maybe then you can hit another one. And they might both fail, but I think them both doing 2 target is not okay.
Yeah, but they still got to be within 5 feet of each other.
So that's not a hard goal to accomplish.
It's also not a hard thing to avoid if you're the DM.
Oh, see, now you're getting into tactics to counter the players, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, well, there's a balance there, but hey.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
If you think it's broken, unbreak it.
Garwin says, damn it. Garwin says, I don't know if it's official D&D or if it's just the community calling the core books being updated in D&D 5e. Yeah, they haven't called it 5.5e. That's definitely the community, but why not?
But given what we know, 5.5 does not seem out of line.
Yeah, because you've had that in the past with the 3rd edition. All right.
And 4th for that matter, with Essentials.
Oh yeah, Essentials was like a mid-grade to it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So at first level, besides getting the broken Moonfire, Ian, do you want to tell us about the Lunar Embodiment? This is cool. Yep. I love this mechanic.
This is so neat.
It actually kind of is. You want additional spells when you reach certain levels, as you do in a lot of archetypes. But what makes this unique is the fact that there's 3 different lunar phases that you can adapt to: full moon, new moon, and crescent moon, and each one has its own spell list.
Yes. That's so cool.
That's the short version of that. And you can change on the long rest.
Yes. So this gives you a lot of versatility. And it almost is like a lesser version of the wizards preparing different spells, right?
And just like for like a short version, like full moons like Fairy Fire, Moonbeam, Mass Cure Wounds, New Moons, Dissonant Whispers, Darkness, Mislead, or Crescent Moon is Sanctuary, Phantom Steed, or Dream.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And so that's just one of them. And they you can tell that they're categorized, right?
Yeah.
Like the new moon is more dark based. You've got, Curse and Dissonant Whispers and Black Tentacles and all that stuff. And then full moon is dealing with Moonbeam and Fairy Fire, Mass Cure Wounds. So, and you can change this at long rest, which I think gives you a lot of fun versatility.
Until you don't, but that's
until you don't. So that to me was a very interesting mechanic.
They're missing a moon phase.
Well, maybe they just decided 3 was plenty.
Yeah.
Well, they're missing a moon phase.
Whatever. So at level 6 they get the Lunar Boons, which I think is pretty cool, which basically influences your meta magic. Each lunar phase is associated with spells in the following school.
That's so cool.
The full moon, the new moon, and the crescent moon. Full moon is abjuration and conjuration spells. New is evocation and necromancy. There's that darkness I was talking about. And crescent moon is divination and transmutation. So whenever you use a meta magic from a lunar spells table that's associated with the lunar phase that you are in, God, that seems complicated, you can reduce the sorcery points by 1 to a minimum of 0. Some of your meta magic can cost 0 points.
Which is crazy.
Which is another point that I'd like to say, that I think it should be a minimum of 1.
Now, it is worth...
Except for a cantrip, maybe.
Yeah. It is worth noting that you can only do this the number of times per day equal to your proficiency bonus.
Yeah. So it does limit it, but there's a lot you can do with a 0 cost meta magic.
It's like, if you put this in the right player's hands, it can be kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Although inversely, if your players can do it,
so can the monsters. Garwin says, I can imagine wizards accidentally making a core subclasses way more powerful and making all expanded subclasses obsolete. I don't know that I can see that, but I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, that's always something you got to worry about too. But all of that said, some of the stuff in the PHB is still some of the best stuff. But, no, I said some, not all.
So there's a couple more powers you get. Waxing and waning at level 6th level, where you get greater control over their phases. As a bonus action, you can spend a sorcery point to change your lunar phase. That's really cool. So now that versatility can come into play by spending your what are you doing?
I'm checking out Andrew's shop.
Right now, in the middle of the stream?
Yeah, of course.
There you go, Andrew. The Lunar Empowerment. Brandon, would you like to tell us a little bit about that? We have to get
the Lunar Empowerment is the 14th level Lunar Magic feature. The power of a lunar phase saturates your being. Whenever you choose a lunar phase to affect your magic, you also gain the following benefit associated with that phase. On the full moon, you shed bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light for an additional 10 feet. In addition, you and creatures of your choice have advantage on saving throws while within the bright light you shed.
So you can be a paladin. Got it.
Yes.
On the new moon, you have advantage on dexterity stealth checks. That makes sense, because the whole dark feature you were talking about.
Yep.
Being sneaky. In addition, while you are in dim light or darkness, attack rolls have disadvantage against you.
Not gonna lie, part of me thought when I read this, like, don't you
already get that? That's what I thought.
At least against creatures that don't have dark vision,
but this applies even if they do.
Yeah.
Crescent moon, you have resistance to necrotic and radiant damage,
which I think is really cool. So that one's pretty more straightforward than some of the other more complex mixes. Ian, do you want to tell us about the last one in the general census, and we can move on?
Yep, the Lunar Phenomenon. Yep. As a bonus action, you can tap into the lunar phases that you're currently in, and as part of your bonus action, you can change your lunar phase using the waxing and waning feature, and you can immediately use the following powers. Full moon, you can radiate intense moonlight up to 30 feet, and creatures of your choice have to roll a con save or be blinded.
I love it.
And creatures of your choice also regain 3d8 hit points.
It's a healing power. That's so cool.
A healing and a debuff power.
That's great.
Yeah. New moon, you can basically radiate gloom within 30 feet, and anyone of your choice who fails a dex save must take a 3d10 necrotic damage and have its speed reduced to nothing.
Stop, bitches!
And you can become invisible to the end of your next turn, or until you attack or cast a spell and then Crescent Moon, you can slip through light and darkness, and you can teleport up to 60 feet away, and you can also regain resistance to all damage until the start of your next turn.
Now, there's a limit, thank God.
Yeah. And once you use a phase bonus action, so you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you spend 5 sorcery points, but you're level 18 at this point.
Yeah.
So,
So I there's a question that popped up that said, during future supplements by DM's Council being released by WotC, how much of a power creep is allowed to not totally overshadow the older books? I say there shouldn't be any. They're creative enough. There's no reason that there needs to be an imbalance in the game.
Unfortunately, though, we've definitely seen some imbalances here and there, even with the discussion with Monsters of the Multiverse, which I won't get into because that can be a full rant on itself. But hey.
I would say, and now that's just Justin's opinion.
Yeah.
Which is always right. So listen to me, WotC. I know Chris and I know Chris and Crawford are listening. They're creative enough that they can find a variety of ways to do things without outshining the typical. I mean, you're going to have some that are a little stronger and some that are a little weaker, but at the weaker end, there's going to be a trade-off there. Usually it's utility or survivability or something along those lines. And I think that they've managed to find a good balance
for the most part
until Tasha's came out. But I think that was more of a result of all the versatility that they added.
Well, even in Tasha's, there was some stuff here and there that was like, oh my god, this is freaking ridiculous. And there was also a few that's like, why would I even use this?
Yeah. And I think you're always going to have that.
Yeah.
What?
Back to this whole lunar thing. I'm surprised that they didn't add was lunar and solar eclipses to affect them in some way.
That's good. Maybe I'll write one. Who knows? I can handle it. All right, so that'll do it for the Lunar Magic. I really like the Lunar Magic feel. I think that the more complex features adds a bit of fun complexity to an otherwise more simplified spellcaster. I mean, not as simple as the Warlock. All right, they also have a background here called the Night of Solomonia.
I thought that said salami.
Solomonia. These are equivalent. These are the equivalent of like holy warriors of virtue, right? Now, yes, the Knights of Solomonia have in the past in the books had their own corruption. What form of anything does, but some of the greatest heroes come from these. So what I really think is really cool about that is they touch on the typical proficiencies, athletics, survival. You get the insignia, all that pretty interesting stuff. But I really like the feature. You gain a Squire of Solomonia feat, presented later in this document, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Actually, we probably should talk about it right now since we're discussing it. In addition, the Knights Salami provide you free, modest lodging and food for their fortress. Now,
the Knights
this comes back to what I said I don't like about Strixhaven.
How did I miss the part where it says you gain a feat when you get this background?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's how all the Strixhaven books are, and I don't like that. If a player said they wanted to play one,
you can't really say no.
Well, I can say no, but I don't typically. But
I mean, within the realm of that setting.
Yeah. Right. But for me, I don't like it because that's the only book up until this Unearthed Arcana that introduced feats.
Yeah.
To backgrounds, and I don't know how I feel about that, but I understand why they're doing it because there's a lot of people that wish they had more influential options, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too is like I've always criticized how feats were implemented in 5th edition in the first place.
Yeah. So the Squire of Salmonia,
Salmonella.
Feat, it gives you martial training, which means you gain proficiency with medium armor and martial weapons from a background. And you get defensive rider. You have advantage on saving throws made to avoid falling off a mount. And you get encouraging rally. When another creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes a saving throw, you can use your reaction to inspire them. If the target can't hear you and understand you, they gain advantage on the save. You can use this. Once you use this reaction, you can't do so until you finish a long rest. So
my knee-jerk reaction was with the martial training part. I feel like most characters who would take that background would already have that stuff anyway.
Maybe, but it's once again, it's still a feat that provides a mechanical benefit. What I loved about backgrounds to begin with was the fact that they were flavor based almost entirely besides the proficiencies.
Yeah.
and that was something I really enjoyed. So that's just Justin, Knights of Salami. Salmonella. Anyways, so overall, that's kind of my only beef with this, because that's another power creep, right?
Yep.
Now, when they do the 5.5 or whatever, and they do this to all the builds, then you're no longer saying it's compatible with regular content. You're saying the other content can be used, but it's inferior, which is how they're going to sell more books.
Huh.
And I know that's what they're going for. Shame on you guys.
And we've seen this before.
Yes. But it was bad in some other editions, but I think it's been expected for 5e for a while, I guess. So there's a couple of, what do you guys think about that background right off the bat, besides my rant about it being
I thought the flavor for the background itself was fine, but like I said, I think they're trying to compensate for
the size of the sword.
Well, for some, overall, that's been kind of a problem that always kind of be adjusted in this edition, but at the same time, it makes it so OP in a way where it's like, okay, now what?
Right.
Now, granted, this is rooted to if you're just using this setting,
right?
Which I think is what they're going for. But still,
whatever I see.
It's a Salami quote. Let us go for tomato we bacon.
I've never really walked out on a job before.
You're about to.
But it's getting real close. No, that is something I know. Something I like about the backgrounds is that you get the proficiency bonuses, and sometimes it says, okay, you get an extra, like, you get a deck of cards, or maybe here's a few pouches of extra gold or something. And seeing a feat come with a background makes me a little nervous.
But yeah, that's my thing too.
Yeah.
And they did it in Strixhaven. I was like, oh, that's dumb. Why did they do that? At least when you got a specific setting book, you can play with a little bit of that stuff because it's tied to that setting. But then you're still throwing DMs under the bus who then might want to have to say no to that. And
although, let's as a kind of my rebuttal though, in the past, how much benefit do you often get from a lot of backgrounds in the first place?
I think that depends on if the player and the DM bringing them into the story.
Exactly. I think at least in this way, you're at least guaranteeing a benefit aside from proficiency skills. Does that make any sense?
No, I see what you're saying, and I will leave it at that. I understand that, but
I'm just saying they managed to upgrade all of the backgrounds in a way.
And that's what I said. If they, when they really release the books at 5.5, if all the backgrounds get something like this, then it balances out. But you're still gonna have people with old content that won't.
Well, I think if they at least take the old backgrounds, but then give, say, you also gain this feat along with it, then at least it's relatively
even. And I can see that. At least then they're trying to standardize it. But that's just
that seems fair.
Brilliant, and I applaud it.
All
right, so there is another background here. It is the Mage of High Sorcery. On Krynn, the Mages of High Sorcery are brutal. They literally have like contests. The test, I think, is, if I remember, is what it's called, where they actually send wizard or mages through these gauntlets, and either they succeed or they die. It's so bad. Like,
I don't think I've gone to that part of the books yet.
It's so bad. So I wouldn't want to be a Mage of High Sorcery, because you're basically giving to the player, you did this great achievement while others did not. But yeah, so I think that's an interesting one. You want to tell us a little bit about some of the features that you get, Brandon, before we move on?
Yes. We won't go through those. Go proficiency.
No, just what is the feature? I mean, everyone can assume that the mage is going to get Arcana.
That does make sense. Okay, yeah. Feature: Initiate of High Sorcery. You gain the Initiate of High Sorcery feat presented later in this document. In addition, the Mages of High Sorcery provide you with free modest lodging and food indefinitely and any occupied tower of High Sorcery, and for one night at the home of an organization member. So
I like
thing
that.
As the other one.
So as a player, I feel like anytime, if I have a feature like that, anytime we go into a town, is this here? I know it happens when I have the what is the folk hero background. Like, I need to find somebody that'll give me shelter.
There it is.
Yeah. And I feel like this is an example of, I have this background, but almost never comes up. Even though I said repeatedly, I have this background, people should know who I am. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, sorry if I missed that.
I'm not giving it. I'm not paying that on just you. I'm just paying it on DMs in general.
I feel that right here.
Unless people remind me, I'll forget.
No, you're not being attacked.
It's like, by the way, I have a criminal contact. It's like, fuck, I forgot about that. Okay, fine.
Yes.
You know this now.
Yeah.
Definitely need to have that stuff out and available. So, were you going to say something?
Yes, but we don't have time, so.
Yeah. All right. So, the Initiative of High Sorcery feat basically gives you access to a first level spell with restrictions based on which moon you choose and cantrips.
Yeah.
So,
and
it's
yeah,
basically isn't the spell adept thing like that?
kind of. And it's also worth noting too that these feats do fork into other feats of like various orders within those organizations that we don't have time to get into.
Now
but,
that is something I would like to see expanded upon, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I know we don't have time to go into the rest of the feats. You can go to and open up the Unearthed Arcana, but I like the idea of almost you're basically taking feats that specialize.
Yep. Now, the more I kind of read this document, I'm like, I guess technically the DMG does indicate that you can give extra features to players, and feats can be one of them. And I kind of feel like these can potentially go off that.
I agree with that. So there's a lot to this. Obviously, this is just playtest material. So if you're listening, Jeremy and Chris, and I know you are, because I know you watch us because we're great. Please make some adjustments to the Lunar Mage, because it is broken as hell.
I could definitely see like the Minute Magic thing if you limit it to like just cantrips, for example.
Yes, I agree, and that's what I think I made a point of that too. So, so we got a question here, I think, from the DM's Council. What would be your method for letting players take advantage of some of the lesser used features in each background? Example, not only picking a background for only the proficiencies and skills.
First and foremost, reminding the DM that you have those.
Yes. So I'm guilty of this, but I do make an effort. I know, for instance, in our Plane Shifters campaign, which you can watch every other Friday on our YouTube channel right here. One of the core aspects of the game right now is them getting from Ravnica home, and so the Artificer is a core part of that.
He's not dead,
and he died. So as the DM, I gotta figure out what the hell I'm gonna do.
And to be fair, we did discuss some of that behind
the
scenes.
Yeah.
But,
So, but a lot of that is bringing it into the story in a way that makes sense. Like, for instance, if Brandon's playing a criminal rogue, and I know that he's got it, first you got to be reminded, because if you're not paying attention, it's easy to forget about that stuff. You can include that in your design for when they're seeking out information. Because I think a player will lose their mind if you turn and say, what's the name of one of your characters?
Malachite.
This information you guys are seeking. You believe that you might be able to find a contact that can help you locate said information. Now, a criminal contact. It's as simple as that, because they're going to have to go look for that information anyway, right? You just say, how are they going to get it? Well, this guy's a criminal. This guy's an artificer. He probably, what's the background you got?
Sage, probably.
So he's got the sage. So maybe Merle goes to a wizard's tower to seek the information, and Malachite goes and looks in the underground. You basically just role play it out from there. That's about the best you can do. Just think about those things when deciding how they can discover the information. Regardless if it's an investigation check to find something, they're going to approach it differently. You know what I mean? So that would be my recommendation. Sorry, there's a lot going on. I'm trying to keep up with it.
Hello, Magistrate. Looking for information regarding this.
So
Hello,
for the
Zentarum.
main topic, I think that will do it today. I really am excited for Heroes of Krynn. I love that D&D is beginning to expand to some of their other settings. I'm really, really looking forward to Dark Sun, which I know is going to come, because if it doesn't, Chris, Jeremy, we're going to have a problem. But anyways, that'll do it for our main topic. Before we move on to our Unearthed tips and tricks, I have to show you guys something.
What the hell is this?
We've partnered with and become affiliates with Only Crits. These guys are awesome. Check this bad boy thing out, right?
When did this happen?
Well, you've been gone for months.
I've been gone for 2 weeks.
It sure seems like months.
Oh my god.
All right, so I got this really cool thing. First of all, it comes with a nice little dice. You got this really nice inscription of a dragon on it. It's a nice little dice holder. It can hold pens and stuff. The thing that I like more than anything, where's your phone?
Do those dice have dicks in them?
The fact it doubles as a dice.
Yes. So the dice that they actually sell too have little. This one's got pink ducks in it. It's
Oh,
so
ducks!
cute.
I said dicks, and you said yes, and I thought that
Oh,
was
I thought you
fucking
said
hilarious. You got
No,
penis
they're
dice.
so
Those are two
beautiful.
very different
They're
things.
good qualities. This one I think has like weapons in it, like axes or something, which is pretty neat. They make really good quality. I can't. My phone's not here, but I sit my phone right here, and you can scroll through your phone with all your other stuff.
It's a
It's pretty
pencil
cool. They got all kinds of cool stuff. The dice are pretty nice. Basically, it's a portable
That's all
pack.
for your mini, maybe.
There's a place for minis, and what's cool is it's held together by magnets, and it's
Nice.
actually pretty strong. So consider checking this out and checking out Pickup's other dice. We are affiliates, so we do get a bit of a commission for it, but you also save 10%. So we all win. They get a sale, we get a kickback, and you get a discount and an amazing product.
Yeah.
The dice are awesome. That's all I've been using, and I haven't rolled a one yet.
And
Of course, I've only had 2 games with them.
That's your curse. That is your curse right there.
and the code is
make sure,
crit.
yeah, make sure,
C-R-I-T.
yeah, make sure to use discount code crit.
Shop only crits.
Yes,
Step
so-
into a mystical
Andrew, we said
world.
only crits, but it was only fans, but for dice rolling.
dude, that's $1 million idea right there.
It's like
Only crits?
It's like there might be a marker for that.
D&D after hours.
Oh, let's see if I can still do it.